All right, let's
Hello,
do
hello,
this. Hello.
hello, 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 Astro y Negro,
Oh, I was like, wait, she about to start
Astro y
rapping?
Negro,
Astro and negro,
Astro
Astro
in
and
black,
black
Astro in
and
black.
negro.
Just all types of remixes.
All the black, the negro, Astro and us, you, we, diaspora, black
Okay.
diaspora.
Black, happy Black American Heritage and History Month to all those who celebrate, all of us in the United States, all who represent.
Mm-hmm.
Um, And someone's
Mm-hmm.
like, it's also Black History Month in Canada. I'm like, great.
Congratulations. You're welcome. I wonder
Yeah,
where that came from.
listen. I think it's the reason why like Spirit really was like, yeah, drop the episodes in February.
That's true. That's true.
And I was like, oh, the connections on this side. Yeah. Hey, cousins.
Literally, we were like, February 1st. Yeah, that sounds like a great date. It's Black
That,
History Month. Oh,
uh,
duh.
oh yeah, yeah. This is how you know we've been adulting too hard
Yeah,
because
yeah,
forgetting.
yeah. It's not on
Yeah.
Google Calendars anymore, so we're gonna have to remember.
It is still the Gulf of Mexico. Just like Twitter is still
I'm never
Twitter.
calling it that, okay? What did they say?
I'm never calling it the Gulf of America. It's the Gulf of Mexico.
Yeah, no.
Wrap it up.
Their mama called it Gulf of Mexico. I'ma call it
Call it
Gulf of
Gulf of
Mexico.
Mexico. Golly.
Never mind.
And it's still Palestine. So free Palestine.
Every day, all day. They
Mm.
probably gonna remove this video. From a river to the sea. Okay.
Okay.
They're probably like, we could not upload this episode. You'll know why.
Mm. There you go. Watch the only people who gonna be able to see this episode. It's gonna be on Spotify. Because
Probably.
you two gonna be like, absolutely not,
We don't do that around here.
baby. Okay. But what's been going on in your streets? What's been going on your side?
My streets being number, hold on, wait, I got a screenshot. Why guess when I could look at my screenshot? Being number, please hold as you say. Oh, that's the first. So this is the second to last number that I screenshot. Um, but I was like number 45,000 in the queue of Beyonce's Cowboy Carter tour. Yeah,
Yeah, we are recording this on February 11th.
211.
Yeah, I'll try tomorrow with Verizon pre-sale. I want to be hopeful because I'm like I feel like in my spirit I'm gonna go to this concert,
I think
but
because you should. You know what I'm saying? It actually is an album for you.
no, for real. Like I think
Like
that's why so many like people who've been Beehive, I'm like new. I'm new to like okay. I'm gonna pay attention for real to this Creole witch. Like it's only been like since homecoming for me, but
they're never
it
gonna post this video, okay? Oh Lord.
like I listened and I'm just like Cowboy Carter had it for me, and I'm not even like a huge country fan, but sonically, the storytelling, the
No, it
vocals,
does.
it's. I was
It's
like,
a
oh, I gotta be
masterpiece.
there. I was like, I want to be next to my country ass cousins and Billy
Mm-hmm.
Bob the redneck, who has been a fan of Beyonce since I am Sasha Fierce,
Forever.
but he couldn't say nothing until she came out with the country album. So now he has an excuse to go to a concert.
Yes.
That's what I want next to me.
Dressed in all sequined American flag.
Correct.
Mhm.
Cause he's still 100% down for America. Okay. With his
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
okay. And he gonna
But
have on his
listen,
pop cowboy
Hat,
hat. Come on. That's who
but
I want to be next to. That's who I want
I
to be
feel
next to.
that.
I don't want to
That's
be
a
next
vision.
to these people who are like, oh, I didn't even like the Cowboy Carter album, but I got tickets.
Why are you buying tickets?
This is not a huge concert. Why would you do that? Get jumped. Anyways,
Period.
that is just like how I feel. That's how I feel, but we'll hope. We'll hope. I
I
don't
hope
know.
so, because the Beehive in me was unsuccessful. And I gave up after the like third show, and it was a whole bunch of invisible tickets that
Mm,
just click. These are gone, but you can buy these $1,800 ones in this economy.
absolutely not. Absolutely
Try
not.
white Jesus, not me.
Okay.
No.
I don't know. I already told you I have a budget.
Yeah, like even my friends and I, we were like, okay, this is my max. Baby, the max was the minimum. I saw one ticket for like 275, but the key here, and we gonna post this after the ticket sale because y'all ain't gonna use this. But the key here is the bigger the group, the less tickets available.
Yeah. Yeah, because a lot of people are saying they can only get stuff for themselves.
Yeah,
And I'm just like,
I'm gonna just be that one solo. I'll see you in level 250.
no, for real. And I was like, dang, we're gonna really have to take pictures beforehand because we may not even be together,
I'm
which
not
is
gonna be with you.
it just is what it is. Hopefully the full moon in Leo would be on my side because
I
it would be
hope
my
so. I will send you Leo Moon vibes. It's in the 12th
okay
house, so that might be useful for you.
girl. Because what Leo's like in the ninth and tenth for me.
Little Leo juju from the 12th house might be useful.
Girl, I will see. I was like, man, y'all play
Yeah.
so much.
Listen, I done been to Atlanta, to Jersey, and Chicago, and I was like, no, no, it's all right.
Man, and I listen, got my stuff. Listen, we gonna see. We gonna see because the fact that everybody was complaining, it was like Renaissance wasn't even this hard at
Renaissance
all.
wasn't this hard. Mm-mm.
Y'all didn't even like the album, remember?
Hey, no more slander. Okay, they already have a couple of reasons not to publish this. I ain't taking the backlash.
That's fine. That's fine. Y'all can backlash
Y'all
at
at
me.
her. Okay.
Okay,
Leave
yeah.
the one in yellow out the comment.
Listen, that's fine because y'all can also at me. We can segue into like what's been going on since the last time we recorded. Y'all can
Yeah.
also be mad at me because I posted something on my Patreon. It's actually for the public. It's still up for the public. So if you go to my
Ooh,
Patreon, so
that's such a good.
patreon.com/Lady Emerald. It's for everybody, free to the public. I wrote something about it's manifesting spiritual bypassing.
Go read it. All of
Yeah,
yous.
and it's like an interrogation on like how we speak about things and our
Mm,
blessings and the difference between manifesting and conjuring and religious and spiritual bypassing, especially during these times when people are like losing jobs because the current administration.
yeah.
It's not cute to say like, well, my God is greater. Do y'all not deal with the same God? Is that same God going to bypass everybody else just to get to you? That's not how that works. So,
Could be
also can
triggered.
be
But I think
triggered.
it's a great conversation because spiritually, like we all want the blessings, but we don't want the hardship and the work that comes with the spirituality. And
Hmm,
go
yeah.
check that out. Go
Child. I got a couple more things eventually that's gonna come out. That's probably
Mm.
also gonna piss people off because I want to talk like in depth about the whole TikTok thing and people going crazy about that, how that's related to some a lot of stuff that's going on, and I'm like, okay. Um, yeah, I think, and I might even talk about um eventually talk about um Beyonce and her work son Kendrick and the
That I would like that.
use of glamour and the misogyny, the misogynoir that came out as well Sunday
That's still
nights.
coming out, especially with Serena too. That's a whole other
When
layer.
Serena was the best part. Let's be
I
real. When I saw Serena, I was
know.
like,
That was
yeah, because I
my
don't.
like
Did you forget he stalked
energy
her?
boost.
He stalked her after that. Like, y'all are weirdos. It's so many people who are just losers out here. I just don't understand.
It's an abundance.
But but what else been going on before we hop into
Um,
Neptune and Aries?
I just posted the pick a card for the Leo moon. Um, go see about that. The messages I thought that were gonna come, well,
I'm scared
well.
because I
Um,
haven't sat down with it.
I was there like I'm gonna give affirmations. Everybody else had other thoughts energetically. And remember, full moons are for releasing. So if you are holding yourself back, um, that might be the video for you.
Mm. I kind of got that it's to like release and transmute, not
Mm-hmm.
necessarily anything else.
Yeah,
Okay.
for sure.
Ugh,
It's all love, but sometimes some people need their edges pulled back so they can realize that we're in our own way. So that is the thing. Did I release anything else?
I'm scared.
Um, I don't know if my mama burning something. She downstairs. Other than that, no. Listen, we have some neurospices in the proximity and need to keep an eye on things. And so
Understandable.
I I have a lot of notes, so I might be the one, hijacking some of this. I just want you to know I got 2 pages of notes.
Come on. Let's go. Let's go. I guess we can start with like telling
Neptune.
people, yeah, Neptune. First of all, I scared I was shook. I was shook literally, was this just last night or night
Mm,
before last? Because was going to post the February transits and new full moon readings for patrons.
yes.
And I went
Gotta
on
check
and
that out.
looked at March. And I literally, I don't know why in my mind, Neptune and Aries, I was like, yeah, it's gonna happen this year, but I realized it's February
No,
and
it's next
Neptune and
week. It's 3 weeks
Aries.
from now or something. Down the street, around the corner. Yeah, I don't
I
know.
got nervous.
I'm nervous.
I
I
got
am nervous
nervous. I said,
because
because during when Neptune go to Aries, Venus is in retrograde in Aries, Mercury
yes,
is in retrograde in Aries, and we're in the middle of
yes,
freaking eclipse season when it
yes.
happens.
It don't sound like nothing good. But as the one hopeful Delulu illusioned person in the chat, I can say just based on what we're gonna get into, it's a willful decision that people can make through whatever chaos is
Hmm.
about to ensue.
The
And
power of choice.
so yes, like let us let history remind us that being fed up is useful.
Mm. Well,
And that's how I'm gonna leave it.
and it's crazy. I mean, it's so funny you say that because Neptune is the planet of of spirit. If we're gonna go into
Yes.
modern astrology, which means it rules the heads, and so it
Mm-hmm.
could also
Ooh.
mean like partner with Mars or anything else. it can really, well, it is partnering Mars because of Aries and this
Yes.
Neptune and Aries, we can talk about like decision making and doing it in an innovative way, in a way that can
Ooh,
lead into the future, in an artistic way. Like, what does
yes.
that look like?
Okay, so like before we get into the years, let's talk about what Neptune is, right?
Hmm.
Neptune, and I'm using the book that we both have, the Planetary Guide.
Girl, this book want to be me so bad. It's matching my outfit today.
Yes.
Crazy. Want
So,
to be
I
me
mean,
so
it
bad.
has its
Crazy.
own meanings and whatnot, but like Neptune can be fog, right? This is why I always say like Pisces isn't necessarily water. Pisces is the steam rising above the water, right? And
Mm.
so that is what Neptune is. As much as you can't see clearly, depending how thick the fog is, you can still kind of make out shapes. You know you're in the fog, right? And so I think the biggest thing with Neptune and Aries is using the smoke to your advantage,
Mm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, but also not letting yourself be lost in the smoke. If you already know how to get home, does it matter if there's fog or not? Sometimes we just get home by muscle memory. And so
Mm. Mm-hmm.
things and thoughts. So,
That's interesting, especially if you think about, well, because the visual I get, because I used to talk about
mhm,
Pisces being the depth of the sea, and so
mm,
in the you first see it clearly, but the deeper you get, it starts to get colder. But that's
mhm,
because you
mhm.
need more practice to see through the denseness of the sea.
That's a
And when
good
you were talking
one.
about steam, I think about when you talk about that, I was like, oh, like when you see like off of TV and you see like the lighthouses and then you see like the water and the sea and the
Exactly.
steam and fog coming out the,
Exactly.
oh, I like that. I like
Yes.
that. Okay,
That's
because
very much giving Neptune and Aries. And so,
yeah.
what it says in our guidebook here is next time you hear yourself sigh or feel yourself slip into a daydream, think of Neptune. This is the planet in charge of romance, which I've never considered, nostalgia, and magic, right? I've never
That makes
considered
sense
Neptune.
though. That makes
Yes,
sense because think about like old Hollywood.
very
And
Neptunian.
because Neptune also rules like movies and everyone loves like rom-coms and old Hollywood romance movies. Okay.
Right?
Okay.
Although her official Neptune is considered a her by this book, which I'm feeling.
Really?
Um, Although her official title is Department of Avoidance and Fantasy, she's also one of the most creative energies you own. Wherever she is in your chart, she is where you're psychic. Um,
I don't know.
it's it's also
Okay.
where you're capable of amazing compassion and sensitivity for beings and creatures less fortunate than yourself. But
Yeah,
that
I agree with
also keep
that.
in mind that's a lack of boundaries as well, right? There's no boundaries. That's the problem with Neptune is that too much compassion is dangerous.
Listen, as a Pisces placement, you have to, y'all, please know your boundaries. Please get some dang
Please.
on boundaries.
Oh, listen, right here. I went too fast. It's
Oh,
where you'll be drawn into charity or volunteer work because you realize that we're all part of a bigger plan, that there are no boundaries between you and what's out there.
clock me.
This Don't worry, my north node is not too far. This combination of sensitivity and harsh reality doesn't always mix well. This may also be a place where you'll try to escape. Sleep,
Mhm.
meditation, and prayer are the highest uses of her energies, but alcohol and drugs are also under her jurisdiction. Neptune's place in your
Okay.
chart is where you're equally capable of fooling all of the people all of the time and of being fooled yourself. In the
Mm-hmm.
body, Neptune and the moon co-rule fluids. Neptune
Yes,
also
because of
has a
viruses.
a connection with poisons and viruses that
Mm-hmm.
invisibly infiltrate our bodies and with the body's immune system. which is how we keep our barriers intact.
Which is why if you go back to like major pandemics, respiratory diseases,
Yep.
they tend to come out during,
Neptune and Pisces.
yeah, no, Neptune and Pisces was more of opioids.
Oh,
And which I have a whole
you
thing on Patreon about that.
go to her Patreon.
I'm actually going to update that post because of
Mm-hmm.
newer things that have come out about opioids
Mm.
and fentanyl. And then I'm
Mm-hmm.
probably gonna like sell it for like $3 for people who don't want to join the Patreon. So,
That sounds good.
but every time Mercury is in Pisces and is retrograding in Pisces, we tend to have some type of respiratory
That
influx
makes
of
so much
disease.
sense.
That's what happened during COVID. And
Mm.
right now, tuberculosis is having a
Yeah.
thing. We do not have vaccines in the United States for tuberculosis because old school vaccines, right, will make it come up for tuberculosis. It will make it come up in a test that you have it and you don't. You just been vaccinated. So that's why we don't have a vaccine in the United States for tuberculosis. But that's been a thing, and that's straight respiratory. And it's literally just
That's
airborne.
so scary. Yeah.
And so
That's
think
so
about
scary.
how the North Node is now in Pisces, right? Because Neptune rules Pisces in
Yep.
modern astrology. Think how Neptune is at the last degrees, the critical degrees in Pisces, and it's conjunct like with each other. So they're side by side, playing off each other. So right now, we not only have norovirus, we have flu A and B going around, we have bird flu getting in contact with humans and learning
Yep.
us. And once it does, that's it. It has a
Right.
52% fatality rate. What else is going on? Pneumonia is going on. COVID is still
Measles.
measles had there's a measles outbreak in Texas, which mind you, it's literally preventable because the measles vaccine works. Like, but people are so anti-vaccine, which is stupid. But it just is what it is, mis and disinformation. It's running rampant.
And it's also Neptunian misinformation.
It is. It is. Belief systems,
Yeah.
rampant, going crazy. And so we have all these things happening as the North Node in Pisces meets Neptune in Pisces, as Neptune is like also this big societal planet. Rachel said
And
the
isn't
department of
Saturn?
avoidance, that's y'all. Like
Yeah.
that's like people, and it makes sense why so many people are so connected to the things that help them disconnect from the
Oh
world,
yeah.
which is why I think social
Which,
media has blown up so much in the past 11
yeah.
years, while Neptune has been in Pisces.
It's an addiction and it's an escape. So it's a perfect like brain shut off.
Child, now the co-ruling of fluids
Mm. Hmm.
makes me kind of think back to its connection. I have to go back and re-remember what is the conjunction that gave the okay for COVID. It was not only Mercury and Pisces retrograde, but
So
it's the
wasn't Saturn
same.
in Pisces too? You don't think?
Was it when Saturn when no. Saturn
No?
was in Aquarius or Capricorn because that was 2020,
Aquarius, I'm
2019.
tripping.
Jupiter, was it Jupiter in Pisces during that time? Because
That isn't impossible.
it was the great Saturn, Jupiter, whatever, or something, and it's the same astrological thing that also gave like which also set the energy for HIV to become the epidemic. It's
Mm-hmm.
it's the same thing, which is why like astrologers was forewarning about a pandemic 10 years prior, which is around the
Yeah.
time where Obama and everybody, so if y'all don't know, so during the Obama administration, this is my public health brain coming in, y'all. I'm
Go
sorry.
ahead.
Public
I'm
health and
right here
policy
with you.
brain. So during the Obama administration, he put a lot of things in place, a pandemic plan and team.
Mm.
Also, so what people don't know, when we find new viruses in the research world, certain research institutions get certain viruses to keep in their labs for safe storage, to help do vaccine stuff. NIH like funds a lot of this throughout the world, not just the US, which is why it's dangerous what y'all current president is doing, 47. And um and so what So Obama also put some bioethical stuff in place to like in case
Mhm.
something was to happen, we have all these things. The president and sitting president when stuff happens should follow these plans and should activate the response teams this way. Y'all friend did not do that. He actually had CDC gagged for part of 20 well for a majority of his administration. So that's what people don't
Yeah.
know, right? Or they don't
Yeah.
remember. But around the time that Obama was doing that, was maybe between 2010 and 2013, astrologers were starting to warn about the next 10 years of an incoming pandemic.
I
You know how that
think it
goes.
was Jupiter being in Gemini. No, hold on. Um,
2019?
yeah, but this is also Vedic astrology, so bear with the brain. It's Spanish flu of 1918 to COVID-19 of 2019 and beyond. Basically, it's Jupiter being in the sign of Gemini. So would that be
Cancer for
Cancer?
us?
Yes. Saturn Neptune conjunction. Saturn Neptune conjunction. They're giving me all these flus, girl. Hold on.
Then,
A
cause HIV, there's like a whole the astrology podcast did a whole 3 hour thing on this and a
Jupiter,
freaking
Saturn, and Pluto conjunction was HIV and AIDS.
Lord. So
COVID
that
19 was Saturn, Pluto, and K2 were in
mm,
the sign of Sagittarius, so that would be Capricorn.
some longevity, lack of resources,
Capricorn or Scorpio?
or Sag.
Could have been Sag. One of them,
Well, I
not too
will
far.
in the description show notes, we'll try to tag
We'll
these
try to see what we
resources.
find. Yeah.
Come and remind us, bully us in case we don't do
So
it right
yeah, please
immediately
do that
afterwards.
because
Please
our
bully
brain will
us.
probably, shut down afterwards.
But I think it's crazy and it makes me think like, you know how they say certain presidents always have astrologers in there, some type of astrology, some type of woo-woo. Because we know the Reagan administration did. He had financial astrologers. We don't even gonna get to that.
Literature
But so
astrologist.
so like I wonder, did somebody like look at this article? This is what the people are saying. Maybe that's what made him be like, okay, let's start putting certain more things in place just in case. And we
Very
just found this
possible.
virus. We just found this virus, and now, which is how and sadly enough, without HIV, we would have never came up with the vaccine as safe as the COVID vaccine.
Yeah.
So, mRNA, child,
Are you ready? Are you ready for Neptune and Aries?
yeah,
We done
yeah.
spooked the people already.
Listen.
It's
Get
always fun
ready.
to find
You
this.
gotta you gotta stay ready so you don't have to get ready. So
Period. Period. We got years. How far back do your years go?
I I'm skipping over some
Okay.
years because
All right.
I have stuff on Black Reconstruction era and I want to kind
Mm-hmm.
of read the excerpt from the Indigenous History of the United
Ooh,
States.
yes. Okay. Okay.
So because once I had
I go back
clicked
to 1370. Okay.
so we on the same. We
All right.
here.
All right.
So maybe start with 13, whatever, because my stuff is like 1470s.
Okay, cool. So 1370, it's like one line. 1370 to 1383 is the Hundred Years' War, which I thought was really important to just throw out there because it ends up fucking everything up for the rest of these years, right? Because this is colonial expansion, everybody fighting over what they finna get. Everybody, as in the
Okay.
Europeans.
because like Neptune and Aries does give the air. Well, once
of
we get
war.
to yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah,
we'll dive more into that. Y'all
yeah,
will see
yeah,
the correlations of why we're picking up and talking about certain things.
yeah.
But yeah,
So,
the Hundred
oh,
Years War, I really forgot about that.
even
And
further back, 1191 to 1205, because now I just started doing math. I'm like, okay, minus
the
165
70.
years is the Third Crusade, religion and colonialism. So, you
Child,
know,
wasn't it? Didn't I have something about Neptune and Aries and religion the last time? Yeah, that
I mean, it
overflowed.
makes sense because Neptune can be spirituality and religion, right?
Yeah.
And the ways that it is used. And then we have Aries, the introduction,
Mm-hmm.
the beginning, the forcing of.
Okay, that makes sense because my notes from the 1500s did talk about indigenous peoples and oppression. Correct. Okay, that connects. Okay, continue, friend. Sorry. I
No,
had
no,
to go
you're
back to the
good.
notes.
So once the 100 Years War, everyone else is just chilling, right? Like most of the Arawaks and the Tainos are just kind of living their
Mhm.
life, doing their own thing. And also historians. If you got more information, because this is Wikipedia, this is Bing, since I'm no longer using Google. Searches. There are things that
Love
I
that
have
Bing
read.
will give you like where they get their sources, they
Yes,
AI. I love
yes,
that. Like,
yes.
yeah, where are you getting this
So
from?
there's limited information, but I thought it's very poignant to set up the precedent between the Third Crusade and the 100 Years War, because this is when shit gets real afterwards. Right? They stop fighting each other and they're like, all right, let's go out into the world and grab shit that doesn't belong to us. And so during all of this time, most of the Caribbean is just kind of doing their own thing, is basically what I got.
Hmm.
The end.
Okay. So, like I said, I've been reading Indigenous Peoples' History of the United States,
Mm.
and like this is like the first chapter. It's called Follow the Corn. And it talks about how we get from like the Mayans to the Aztecs being
Ooh,
the
okay.
biggest thing. And
Mm-hmm.
I think this is a really good nod to like imperialism, even through the indigenous lands.
Mm-hmm.
And they can also, we'll get into Neptune and Aries during like Civil War and Manifest Destiny time for the
Yeah.
US. But it says in 1426, the Aztecs of Tenochtitlan formed an
Mm.
alliance with Texcoco and the Ticlopon people. I'm trying to, the
Yeah.
tongue and the words. I'm trying, y'all. So my indigenous people don't drop me. Peoples and overthrow the Timanek rule. The Allies proceeded to wage war against neighboring peoples and even successfully succeeded in gaining control over the Valley of Mexico.
Mm.
Like, um, Aztecs emerged as the dominant in the Triple Alliance and moved to bring all the peoples of Mexico under their tributary authority. These events paralleled with ones in Europe and Asia during the same period, when Rome and other city-states were demolished and occupied by invading Germanic peoples, while the
Mm.
Mongols of Eurasia overran much of Russia and China. As in Europe and Asia, the invading peoples assimilated and reproduced civilization.
Mm.
That
Hmm.
I think is very similar to what happens in the 1800s in the United
Yes.
States
Mm-hmm.
with Manifest Destiny, moving west. We'll get into that, y'all. But I think it's so interesting, all of this that the author really amplifies, like, for some reason, in during the same time that this was happening in Central and North America with the indigenous peoples here, because before that she talks about um all the many tribes and great civilizations like the
Mm.
Olmecs that led to the Mayans, and now an alliance happens to where the Aztecs come like take over to recreate this big civilization.
Right.
And this is a civilization that comes into contact with the European settlers and
Hmm.
colonizers. And, I think that goes back to why we do see and how they went about it. I think that's why we do see what people now talk about as like traitors. We now see them as traitors, right? But
Yes.
these people were really upset about how the Aztecs went along. Like, we were all supposed to be cool. Here y'all come.
Here y'all
Cross, double
come.
cross.
Yep.
And everyone's now under Aztec rule, and some people still have peoples who remember. So when these new guys come, although they stink, yeah, let's talk so we get these foods. Them not knowing. And we see a similar thing also probably simultaneously happening across the world,
Hmm.
even with African folk. Because,
Absolutely.
I do have a little bit more.
Go ahead.
What's interesting What's interesting about all of this, because I tried to look up what was going on in Africa during the time, because she talked about
Mm.
Russia and China, she
Hmm.
talked about, Europe, but like we're missing a lot of history
Right.
with Africa. And during this time, Africa was already trading with the Americans.
Absolutely.
Let's keep 100. But I was trying to really find out what was happening during that time. So by the time 1470 something
Hmm.
hit, it was the decline of the Mali Empire. So like Mansa Musa. But
Oh.
we start to already see
Mm.
in Congo, in the original Congo, Congo with the K, you already see the merging by that time, the merging, and I think this goes back to Neptune in Aries before, I mean, Neptune in Pisces before the Neptune in Aries, that we already see the merging of African tribal religions and is it integrated into Catholicism in the Congo
Hmm.
area.
I have a lot about that throughout all of this because
Mm-hmm.
we'll see where during different times in the Caribbean Catholicism comes back in, and that's kind of where we
Mm-hmm.
see the disbursement of certain things. So yes.
Yeah, and I thought that was I remember when I read that and I was like, hold on, 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 hold on. And I started looking up dates and like coincided with Neptune. And I said, hold on, this
A
is Neptune
lot
in Aries.
happens. Yeah, a lot
And people think
happens.
astrology isn't real. So explain why everybody around the world was doing the same BS at the same
Right,
time.
right.
Something is up.
Astrology be astrology. Deadass. Wait, what 1400s years do you have?
That all of that was happening in the 1470s. I mean
Mm,
1420s.
1420s.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah.
Okay, okay.
1426 is when all that was happening. And yeah, because I wrote notes. I said Pluto was in Cancer and Neptune was in Aries. Pluto in
Very
Cancer is
fascinating.
Pluto in Cancer, right? Pluto in
Hmm.
Cancer is the destruction of. And I think Pluto in Cancer is where people can reestablish what you were saying, like reestablishing motherlands.
Like matriization, so reconnecting to motherlands, but it's the end of the motherland, basically, right? It is the it can be reconstruction, but in a patriarchal society, that sounds like the demolishing of matriarchal,
Mm-hmm.
motherland as a concept. Turned patriotism.
Dog, is that another episode coming?
That's a whole other episode. Where is my pen?
Pluto in Cancer. Let's
Pluto in Cancer, I think, is a really important one. Because it's the opposite of Pluto in Capricorn.
and you think about Pluto in Capricorn, you saw a lot of people going back into the indigenous religions, i.e., e.g. us,
Yes.
like
Yes.
yeah. Well, if y'all, this is how our process goes when it comes to like
These are
making
conversations.
like we have a whole list of episodes that
Let's
we
just
are
keep
ramping up
going.
for. And this is how we make them, just talking.
Yeah, yeah.
Conversation.
I mean, Columbus eventually in the later 1400s comes. I ain't really focus on when he came. We all kind of know if you Google that, you'll find it. Um, so a lot of
Mm-hmm.
my information, even though it's like 1696 to 1710, um,
That makes sense.
1625 to 1711, the French colonized Haiti, which was considered the most fertile part of the West Indies.
Mm, interesting. I think it's also
Hmm.
the around the time where Philadelphia became a city.
Oh, that's
Philadelphia and
interesting.
Detroit, I think, because they're like some of
Mm.
our oldest cities in the US, and they're also some
Hmm.
of our blackest. Okay.
Hmm. Hmm.
Mm.
Very interesting.
And so what time,
16
what's the time period again?
So 1696 to 1710 is when Neptune is in Aries, but 1625 to 1711 is when the French
Yeah,
are all
come.
up in Haiti's business. And before that, on the Puerto Rican side, right?
Mm-hmm.
We have 1701, the Spanish arrive, well, they're in Puerto Rico, period.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, and I find that I was just typing up like what was going on at that time. There's some Enriquez, don't butcher me. I did not. I was like, I don't know if I like this guy, so I didn't get his whole name. But he was a privateer and a pirate,
Okay.
but it was like high key for the Spanish government until he started plundering their stuff, and then he got fired from helping the Spanish government. So I don't really know what was going on there, but he ended up giving them money
Hmm.
from all of the stuff that he has pirated because they were basically making sure no one else came and colonized Puerto Rico.
Mm.
It was a little
And that's messy.
confusing. I know, I was like, that's a lot. But what else do we have? So
I don't know why you were
1670,
talking. Something
go
about
ahead.
hurricanes came up. Like as soon as you were
Ooh, that makes
talking,
sense.
like the hurricanes popped up. I was like, so I don't know who's hanging around me right now. Like talk about hurricanes. I have nothing to talk about. I don't know anything about hurricanes
I gotta so
in Aries.
history wise, my great grandma was around, she was born in 1912, and she had mentioned that there was a big hurricane, if I'm not messing this up, um, that was like really, really bad, like twice as bad as Maria. I don't know if it was a hurricane or an earthquake. I don't know. Even though Neptune and Aries, and there was like where tsunami, like the tsunami system kind of started around that time. I can be wrong, but if you are a
Which is
historian,
crazy. You know
put it down.
that earthquake that happened over the weekend and the tsunami warning and how close Neptune and Aries is.
It's
My
scary.
God. It's and it's also scary with the active fault lines the US
Yes.
has as well. And
Yeah.
these people are like, we are waiting on those big ones for both of the fault lines, the San Madrid and the San Andreas. It's like, hey, can you not? Because now earthquakes are popping up in places that they
Hmm.
typically do not, like
Yep.
in the middle of Texas. I'm like, baby, that's not, yeah, that's a little suspicious. Is there a
Yeah.
volcano coming up? Like, what's going on? I don't
And
know.
I also saw, I don't know, I didn't click on the link, but I did see like a news, like a article flash that the core of the earth is changing in some way.
It,
And I'm just like,
and this is why, like, when we, I think that's why, even subconsciously, we talk about Earth, we say Mother Earth, and she's a living thing. Because
she's
clearly,
very much alive and kicking.
I wonder if the Earth tilting, like 3 yards.
Yeah, is
And lack
messing
of
with
ground
everything
is
else.
also, and so the core is doing
But also
whatever.
drilling, right? Like drilling, you're messing with the
Yes.
composition that keeps the earth. Like it's gonna fall out the damn universe, and we gonna just.
Are we going to even feel the drop?
I don't want to know. Let me come back. Let me come back. Let me come
Child.
back.
Hopefully I'm dead, baby, because I don't got time.
No,
Y'all know I already don't be care for y'all for real. No, I'm just
listen.
like, I,
Jesus, Jehovah, Yahweh, whoever it is, come get me by that time. If the earth is like,
baby.
y'all got 3 days for me to just, I'm gonna knock everything over.
Let
Take
me
me
know.
first.
Listen, we were already discussing over the weekend, talking about what would you do if the like apocalypse? I'm like, baby, you know what? I'm not even finding them hard, to be honest. The funny part is I'm gonna be here after the fact, but I just want to let y'all know I'm not gonna be finding as hard. I'm just not. So sorry to tell you, y'all. People know me personally. Know I do not fuck with space for real. The more I learned about space in the ocean, the more I was like, respect. I'll be on the ground. Amen. So,
I feel that.
listen, I don't know, but all that is like so interesting. The connections. Um, yeah,
Hmm.
I don't know. And then so after that, the next time Neptune goes into Aries is the 1800s,
Wait,
right?
wait, 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 wait,
Oh,
wait.
you got some more? Okay, she
Yes.
cooking.
Let me
You did
hold
say you got two
on.
pages worth of.
Hold on. So between 1696 and 1710, this is a little bit before 1675, but there were a series of Caribbean slave revolts and attempts. And so
Mm,
1675, a Bajan rebellion, that's for the people in Barbados, um, gets suppressed, right?
mm,
So it's real bad. They murder a lot of people, very
mm.
awful. Somebody probably snitched. 1692, they try again and it gets suppressed again.
Is this also around when the Argentinians wiped out their indigenous and their African?
I wouldn't be
No.
surprised.
Oh,
I
what
ain't looking at their business.
girl,
And then
girl.
okay, so and then 1717, which is literally right after Neptune is in Aries, is the Battle of Vieques, which is definitely really important for Puerto Rican liberation.
Okay.
And I have a note about like the sugar industry and slaves during that time between 1696 and 1710 in Jamaica, Barbados, and Haiti. So that's like my only note that I have there. There was a lot of resistance and revolts.
Makes sense with the war energy.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay. That's
So
dope. Especially them sugar plantations.
yes,
Harsh
that's what I got
conditions.
for that. Yeah, that's what I have. And then it gets thick again in the 1800s.
I looked at the Argentinian thing. Girl,
Mm.
that was in the 1900s. That was yesterday.
Oh, that
So
was yesterday.
we're not even gonna talk about them.
Period. Just some,
That was yesterday. How dare you?
random history facts. Moving on.
Anyways,
Wow.
it's crazy. That was yesterday. Literally, as we go into the 1800s, we
Mm-hmm.
have Big Mama America. I'm call her Big Mama because oh girl, okay.
Mm.
And during the I think what's interesting, Neptune and Aries was, didn't we say how long Neptune?
18. It lasts 165. It's every 165 years and it lasts from
Yeah.
13 to 14 years.
So yeah, so I think for Neptune and Aries in 1800s, 1861, 1862 to about 1976, 1978, something like that. Not
Or is it?
1918, 1870.
Hold on,
Ah,
because this actually has the date. So Neptune in Aries is 1861 and 62 to 74, 75. So it
Okay.
lasts 13
That's
ish,
about right.
13 or 14.
13. Yeah, because it jumps in and out with the
Mm-hmm.
retrogrades. So that is very significant, right, for American culture. That is literally the Civil War, which is most, and that's when we have the possibility of the secession of states. That's when the Confederates is like, we don't want to be part of this no more. Da, 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 of Civil
Mm-hmm.
War, which is very similar to the current climate of now with California. Talk about secession, but we're not going to talk about how that is. This is it's a little different
Mm.
because with how the United States is set up with taxes and federal monies, like a third of California's budget, a third of it, y'all, is federal taxes. It's federal tax dollars. So another reason why California's
Wow.
economy is so big is because of federal monies. But that makes sense. They have the biggest population.
Yeah.
And so the reason why the United States is such a big dog, is such a big sleeping bear, is big mama, is because that we literally come together and put money in all together, and then it goes into our states and into the programs that are needed. Now let me listen. Once it gets to the state, it's probably misimplemented, money goes funny, ain't enough people working where it needs to be. That's a whole nother conversation. But I think that's significant with Neptune and Aries because also during that time, the US was also pushing Manifest Destiny, which
Mm.
is actually rooted, right? Because right before Neptune and Aries, this movie Manifest Destiny really starts to ramp up and going towards the west, which is why so many US cities are are founded in that era between like 1815 to like 18 maybe the 1860s. So
For
everything.
those who don't know, break down Manifest Destiny.
Okay, so Manifest Destiny is rooted in like God told us that we are supposed to rule the land, and so we are going to move west. And I think this also during this time of this where we got like imminent, what we now call imminent domain. I call it the
Mm.
first evictions. Okay.
Period.
Which is what I call, like, this is what I call it in my dissertation. It's the first eviction. So basically, the US literally said, let's do a partnership with Indigenous. Okay. But we're gonna make the contract so ugly that we really have eminent domain. We literally end up owning your land and then kick you off.
Mm-hmm.
We
Mm-hmm.
know now we know that as eminent domain, some backdoor ass ways through the paperwork that people are losing their current land and houses through that. And with like it's just so much dirty shit going on even now. But it's the same game plan, which is what I'm trying to
Yeah.
tell people. It's the same game plan. And so Manifest Destiny happens, and that's how the South becomes so big. I mean, that's how we had
Mm.
Louisiana and Texas and all of this. And so that's what happens. And it's not surprising to me that all that happens while Neptune is in Pisces because the belief system, the delusion of that God tell me, the religious psychosis basically
Yeah.
of going west. And so when we get to Neptune Aries, we
Mm.
also have these belief systems. What's funny is right while we had Neptune in Aries, I mean in Pisces as well, we had the Dred Scott case that
Uh-huh.
said that Black people were not US citizens because they're
Mm.
enslaved,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then it switched to Neptune and Aries, where enslaved peoples were really the reason why for the Civil War, which started in Neptune and Aries, right? Literally, when Neptune went to Aries, the first battles really began, like 1961, first battles, right? Then we have like after Civil War, we have the emancipation, whatever we
Mm-hmm.
have the quote unquote which led to the Black Reconstruction era, which is
Mm.
like where if people don't know, the Black Reconstruction era is the same as the Reconstruction era. But the Black Reconstruction era really talks about what was happening with Black folks. And when we say people who have old black money, they started having, that's when they started having money. So these are the people
Mm,
who may have started to get their land. So this is where we had a lot of all that land that black people had in the early 1900s before it got taken throughout the 1900s. That's where they came from, the Black Reconstruction era. So some
mm,
people did get some land. It wasn't 40 acres, but it may have been here and there. And we got the 13th Amendment with outlawed slavery, but we make the case that it just transformed into uh the prison system.
yeah.
Because that's when we start to really get like big state patrols and city patrols and everything, and the symbolism that we see on the like sheriff and cops, that all came from that
Mm-hmm.
era. We have the
Mm,
14th Amendment, which gave birthright censorship. So which
mm-hmm.
really made, that's what really made Black Americans have birthright citizenship, or like this is my shit. That's where it come from.
They're
I
removing it now,
they're
and I
trying to
find
remove it
that interesting.
now because like women, other people, I think even some of the indigenous, they all fought even after that. Like we are part of this. And it's so funny that women, a specific marginalized group, had to be like, yes, we all have birthright citizenship. But during that time, everything was really for men, because during that time we also got the 15th Amendment, which was the right to vote. And it said all men have the right
Oh
to vote.
man, yeah,
But
that didn't
it
include
been
women.
right. It slightly benefited black folk because we end up getting, black representatives and black people in Senate, and these black
Mm-hmm.
lawmakers helped establish tax funded public schools for black folks. So this is during a time where we see a large amount of HBCUs get founded during this
Mm,
era. I have like a list of them if I can pull it up really quickly. And I think some of the stuff is actually really interesting with
yeah.
how some of these HBCUs get founded during the time, because right now there's like a equal amount of public and private HBCUs.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I make a case, and this is just the HBCUs that are still active now. That
Yeah.
does not include the HBCUs that are still fighting to get, back active. This doesn't include all the community colleges that are now gone. I
Mm,
have a whole rant about if the Department of Education was around when community college HBCU community colleges were like really prominent in the mid 1900s, we would still have a lot of them. And a lot of
mm,
people don't understand that like the majority of our HBCUs are actually not majority, but a large subset of HBCUs is in Alabama. Alabama has the largest amount of HBCUs in the
wow.
country.
Mm,
Yeah, and
mm.
so girl, and I think that's like really interesting. So when did you say the Aries, Neptune and Aries ended in 1870 what?
1875.
So Alabama A&M founded 1875, right? It was
Ooh,
founded as
uh-huh.
the colored normal school. So a lot of stuff is going to say normal school, and I forget the history of why when HBCUs were founded, a lot of them said normal schools. Somebody we're going to remember. Okay, in the
Mm-hmm.
comments.
Please do.
So there's Alabama State or ASU, 1867. 1871 was Alcorn State. 1870 was Allen. 1873 was UAPB, which is University of Arkansas Pine Bluff.
Mm,
1867, Barbara Scotia College in North Carolina. And it was originally like a seminary school. I don't know if it's still a seminary school,
mm,
but it's still there. Benedict and Bennett College, which are both in one is in South Carolina, one's North Carolina, 1870, 1873.
mm,
1865, Bowie State in Maryland. 1869, Claflin. Clark Atlanta, 1865. Like when I say like right back to back, 1869, Dillard University, 1866, Ed Waters in Jacksonville. 1867, Fayetteville in North Carolina. 1866, Fisk in Nashville. Let's see, oh my God, 1868, Hampton. Yeah, and 1869 was Howard. 1867 was
wow.
Howard. right? 1875 is Huston Tolston. That's in Austin. That's a private one. It is still very much Christian centered.
Mm.
Um, in 1877, Jackson State. 1867, Johnson C. University in North Carolina.
Wow.
Girl, like it's so many of them. 1862 is Lemoyne Owen College. That's in Memphis. So funny thing about Lemoyne between 1862 and 1870 was only a elementary. It was only Lemoyne, normal and commercial school. And my
Mm-hmm.
grandma was actually telling me about the history of Lemoyne Owen. And she was like, Owen College was a business college.
Mm.
Actually and was made by Black folks. And then I think what I forgot when the merge happened, and that's how we got Lamar and Owen College. And
Mm.
funny enough, when they were started, after they're officially merged into become when they officially became a university versus just the elementary school, they were called the Magicians. And if you know anything about the history of Memphis and Hoodoo, that tracks.
I love that.
Um, yeah, 1866, Lincoln University in Missouri, 1876, Meharry Medical College. We know Meharry is I think it was the first medical school founded by Black folks.
Mm.
And then there was a bunch that happened. And then the American Medical Association came in and basically messed up a lot of our like medical schools and dentistry schools. So
Of course they
Meharry,
would.
listen. Meharry is a medical school and a dentistry, and they just opened up a school of public health. It's a global public health,
Wow.
actually. So I think that's on par to Neptune and Aries.
Mm.
They had a public health program. It's one of the only few HBCUs that do. So I think it's Bethune-Cookman, FAMU, which is where I got my public health degree, Morehouse, Meharry, and I think it's one other HBCU that has like full
Mm.
public health programs.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but Meharry, the only medical schools we have now out of like the tens that we had in the early 1900s, Meharry, Morehouse, and Howard are the only ones still standing. And I think Charles C. Drew is trying to come back, and that's in LA.
Mm.
So I know they have they are open, but I think that they just have nursing and public health right now. So I don't know if they're
Mm.
going to even be able, I don't know if they will come back as a full medical school or not.
Mm.
That's a
Mm.
whole nother thing. Like it's
Yeah,
just,
that's some good
yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
That's
And
so interesting.
Morehouse, Morgan State, 1867, both of them. Like it's, if you kind of think about what's happening during that time, you really saw people, Black folks gearing up for greater education. So like the thing that there's this myth that Black Americans do not appreciate education, right? When like literally look at the facts, right? Look at the
Right.
facts. We've always been for education. Um, or like, and I always tell people it's like, if Black folks wasn't for education, my diaspora cousins, you would not be able to get the education when you come over here.
You
We've
wouldn't be able
always
to go
been
to HBCU.
wouldn't be able to go to HBC. You wouldn't even be able to go to a regular college without
Yeah.
us.
Yeah.
Um, and girl, it just keeps going. We're not even at the end of the list. It just keeps going. So many of our
It's so
HBCUs
interesting.
started during Neptune and Aries. Because Black representative lawmakers push for tax funding to continue to go towards public schools. And then during that time as well, some of the HBCUs partnered with churches.
Mm.
That's
Hmm.
insidious, like, because if you think about what was happening during that time as Black folks got free and tried to start to kind of sort of assimilate into American culture, um, Black pastors, ministers, some of them were like, you need to come to church. Like, this is how you kind of assimilate to everything, especially with the Bible already being pushed, Christianity being pushed in the areas.
Hmm.
I think that's another reason why we see so many HBCUs partner with churches,
Yeah.
even now, because and a lot of them who are private are partnered with churches, because
Mm-hmm.
separation of state and church.
But also
And
funding.
correct, but these small private universities that are funded by churches are also the ones that are struggling right now. And that's a whole nother
Mm.
conversation we can
That's
get
very interesting.
into. offline because people get very sensitive about it. I'm like, baby, it is what it is. Like, this is the problem. Yes, the states have always been, taking away our federal money or hiding because like Tennessee State is going through right now with the state of Tennessee. They're owed billions by the state of Tennessee, but like Tennessee State also needs to like work on their money management. And so two wrongs can be right, okay, at this point. But
Right.
I think that's very interesting to where, because I think there's also the time where hoodoo itself was starting to hide itself within the Black church into Black
Mm,
culture.
mm-hmm.
And which is why that's during the time where we saw a lot of more um inception of like the spiritual churches, AME churches. Like these are super very African leaning churches because hoodoo has to start to hide itself within. It was no longer on a plantation or with the runaway slaves and the everydayness. It was like, okay, let like hoodoo, like most indigenous religions, is living. So it transforms with its
Yeah,
people.
makes
And
sense.
so she started to transform, like, okay, if y'all are saying that we have to be in the church and you have to be in the church so I can protect you. And which is when people start to make deals like, okay, we still need a ring shout, we still need a full choir, you still need to altar call,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, you still need certain things, which is why the Black, and I think this when we start to get Black Christianity to kind of really be a foundational thing
Mm-hmm.
in the Black community. And then
That's so
sadly after
interesting.
that we get Plessy versus Ferguson in 1896 that said like Black people were equal but still separate. So you have like Neptune Aries, this big push for rights,
Yeah.
right? Like this war
Yes,
and
it
then
is.
rights, war
Yes,
and
it
then
is.
rights, and then right after that we get like the pushback, which gave into Jim Crow. So
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
yeah, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and but funny enough, doing sadly enough, um, the KKK was founded in 1863 in East Tennessee. So everybody in Tennessee know this, especially if you went to like school with me at University of Tennessee Knoxville. We
But
also get this
1863,
warlike thing.
that feels very Neptune and Aries.
Very. So it tries, so the fun thing about KKK, the story is they tried, it was not really a true hate group at first when it first was founded. I think they tried to found it like 1840s at first, then like
Hmm.
diminished off. Like it was supposed to be like a fraternity under Christianity, which like you go KKK stuff now they say they're a Protestant Christian. I think that's funny that they emphasize Protestant Christian, not just Christian, because if you say Christian, you have to include Catholicism. They say they're a Protestant Christian white group, and it was formed in good old East Tennessee. So I think it's funny when this was happening. Like
All
the
of this
hate
is
groups were also forming, like as a
forming there.
retaliation.
Yeah, as a retaliation to all of these like abilities and ways to thrive instead of just survive.
Mm, mm-hmm, 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 mm-hmm.
We will find parallels here because I was thinking of Neptune and Aries just through all of the different Googles. Throughout Puerto Rico, it's basically this a school of thought that is forming. And so
Mm-hmm,
let's get into it, right?
mm-hmm,
So we have the following. These are basically leaders of Puerto Rico that are some of them are philosophers, poets, but they always end up in some type of politics. Some of these people were assigned to be like representatives in American government until there were like
mm.
until the military kind of showed they ass and let them know, oh, we're not. We thought we wanted to be citizens of the U.S., but they don't. That's not what's happening here, and so
So when
they
did Puerto
leave.
Rico become
Oh God,
a
hold
uh,
on.
part
That
of
was
the US,
in.
quote unquote?
It was colonized by the U.S. because it had a short-lived. Um, I feel like I mentioned it. but it was like a short-lived moment of independence from Spain, and then the
Mm.
US comes in and colonizes it.
Yeah, I remember you
And
saying that in
US.
the last episode, I think, when we were talking about revolutions.
Um, blah 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 blah. I don't care what Americans are saying. Okay, girl, let's ask the right question. When does, you know, you gotta ask the right questions. Hold on. Somebody's probably yelling at me right now. When does Puerto Rico
They're like, you know
become?
this. 18, blah, blah, blah.
I'm trying to think because it's like, is it 1899 or 1799? When does Puerto Rico become the US?
Because I'm
Okay.
like, because when you say a representative in the US, I'm like, huh? Like, y'all,
18, so it says 1898, but I think the last year of its own, um, the US landing on Puerto Rico on July 25, 1898, since the Spanish American War.
so how were you? So y'all were already like chilling with us, probably for
Because
trade stuff.
I think what it was is that, you know, the US comes in to be like, you don't want to be with those Spaniards. So like, why not, you know,
Come on in, Neptune Aries.
let's
Come on in, and everyone
come
be a
on in.
representative. Because after
Right,
that,
like
black folks wasn't
come
representatives.
right.
Like,
And so yeah, you know, the US was probably like, I will help you get rid of Spain.
come to our like big legislation in July.
Right. Come
Like,
hang out with
like it's
us.
in DC. It's a nice little place.
A lot. So
Like,
yeah, a lot of these folks, we have Luis Muñoz Rivera, which is the father of Luis Muñoz Marin, which is the name of the airport, but he's also like an abolitionist. And he was governor and all of these things. But I wanted to go older. So Muñoz Rivera, and most of these people, although born in Puerto Rico, many of them have Spaniard parents that
mm,
were part either of the government or something to that effect. They not necessarily were the elites because a lot
mm-hmm,
of them were married to either Puerto Rican women or they were considered mulattoes or something like that.
okay.
So we have Luis Muñoz Rivera. His like granddad was a Spaniard official. But anyway, he was a poet, journalist, politician, focused on the autonomy of Puerto Rico from Spain and then the US.
Mm,
Then we have Jose de Diego, poet. You see, there's something happening here. Poet, lawyer, journalist, and is considered the father of the Independentista movement, which is Puerto Rican independence.
mm,
And as much as he's able to like study throughout the world and things of that nature, he comes back in 1876, so right after Neptune and Aries, to return to advocate for Puerto Rican autonomy.
mm.
Let's go. Eugenio Maria de Hostos, poet, philosopher, also an independence advocate, independentista as well. And he released works on women's emancipation, which I found very interesting.
Oh, that's
Um,
hot.
yeah,
That's hot.
absolutely. He was married to a Cuban woman,
Mm-hmm.
and one of his works is The Social Condition of Women.
Hold
Social
on.
conditioning, the social
Hold
conditioning.
hold on because that's interesting. Because right before Neptune Aries, we get Sally, we get the beginnings of gynecology. And
Mm-hmm.
then through Neptune Aries, I think that's when we do start to see lot more women publishing and writing during that time because Aries is
Mm-hmm.
also like super can be artistic. Neptune Aries
Yes,
bringing new art
poets.
waves,
A lot
and
of
so a lot of you saying
schools of thought is definitely the vibe that I get with Neptune and
interesting.
Aries. And so those are just a few, right? He's talking about the social conditioning of women as patriarchy is being reductive and only minimizing them to house chores. And so I thought that was very interesting in the 18 like
What
60s and
was
18. Hmm?
Because now I'm like, what was the first wave of feminism? Because I know I feel it's weak.
Hmm.
I
I don't
don't
know.
know. Because I know I don't know. I don't remember.
I
I
don't know
should
that
know.
one.
I
Oh,
keep
he was also considered the great citizen of the Americas because he traveled a lot through South America as well and had different works, kind of like in conversation with the places that he visited. I believe he had went to Chile and that was a whole thing as well. And so the great citizen of the Americas because he would be in these male dominated spaces
Mhm.
talking about social issues,
Period.
which I was like, of course, Eugenio Maria de Hostos would be talking about women. He got Maria in his name. Then we have Ramon Bagliorotti, who is an abolitionist and autonomist. And what I noticed is all of these folks, one way or another, especially Bagliorotti and I think Jose de Diego, if I'm not mistaken, who was also a lawyer. Um, he would go and come back, like everybody was traveling and whatnot, but then he came back, founded and edited a magazine talking about Asuntos de Puerto Rico, which is like Puerto Rico's
Mhm.
business.
Mhm.
But also did an independence related newspaper
Mhm.
and it got him locked up in a whole bunch of stuff because they were like, fuck that propaganda and trying to get free. Um,
Okay.
but I found that so interesting that everyone was writing, publishing, creating newspapers and or magazines, editing works.
Where was Jupiter big ass during that time? Because you know
I
Jupiter
have no
Gemini was
Jupiter was really,
somewhere.
really doing something because there's a lot of writing that's going along with all of these independence movements where they're like, okay, we're free from Spain. And it's like, damn it, now we got to get free from the US because they're on some bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
So now we go to um, the 1865. So a lot of people are exiled. Cubans and Puerto Ricans are hanging out in New York City. And that is when we have um, the preparation for a bunch of independence agitation from Spain. So they're trying to free themselves from Spain first, right?
Okay.
So that's 1865, and they're out here like, we finna get the things going. 1868, the Puerto Ricans that are in New York City, some of them travel back to Puerto Rico because this is the independence group movement for El Grito de Lares, which is one of the most historical and important revolts in Puerto Rico, demanding
Mm.
freedom from Spain.
Period.
It gets really crazy, really bloody. But I find it interesting that in 1868, we also have Um, my friend is researching Chinese and Black happenings because they're writing something in West like the Western period, and they
Hmm.
found Chinese and Black insurgency in 1868. Hold on to 1868, right? In
Okay.
1868, we have China signs a treaty with the US as a
Mm.
favored trader, and it's called the
Oh,
Burlingame
the
Stewart Treaty.
they started the Chinese immigration stuff.
Yes. Also in 1868, we have the
Okay.
10 Years' War in Cuba from 1868 to 1878.
That's the whole Neptune and Aries at this point. That's the
Yep.
last of it.
Yep. And so all three, like all of these things are happening and they're all different forms of rebellion fighting for independence and it's the Caribbean fighting against their colonizers, right? And then we
Mm-hmm.
also have in 1873 slavery abolished, which I just find so fascinating. Oh wait, we got some Haitian stuff going on. Hold on. There's a lot. So what happens in Haiti during this period is a lot of overthrowing of the government back and forth. And
Mm-hmm.
so during this time, there's an overthrowing of an emperor, Faustin the First, breaking Haitian unity, and then Jafar signs himself up to be the governor or whatever. But Jafar signs a concordant with the Vatican in 1860, right? The last degrees of Neptune and Pisces before it goes into
And
Aries.
you saw some with the Vatican?
With the Vatican in Haiti, restoring Roman Catholicism.
Golly.
Jafar gets overturned, and there is Salnav, who becomes the protector of the republic. Listen, this is Wikipedia. I don't know, right? I don't know. These self-proclaimed titles, I don't know how I feel about that. So Beacon, the protector of the republic, and then
Because who
the
named you that? Like, no one probably actually wanted you to do anything. People were probably just trying to like bounce back. I
right,
really want to know. Like, I really wish we could like pull charts of the countries, but the countries have been through so much.
yeah,
Like, you
yeah.
can't even pull the correct chart to see what was really going on.
So from the eight, so all of this like overthrowing leads to the two major political parties between the 1870s and the 1890s of the Liberal Party, which are the mulatto elites. Most of
Mm,
these people that were overthrowing each other were the mulatto elites. Um, and then the National Party, which are the black folks of Haiti.
mm,
There's a
hmm.
whole lot happening in Dominican Republic, but I didn't go that far because it gets a little more complicated. But yeah,
Because you know, I was going to ask, I said, are those mulatto elites really the Dominicans?
no, it's the French. It's really the French that have
Uh,
babies with, you know, you
I mean, that's a
know.
lot
But
if you really,
listen, it's a
but
lot.
it's like a lot in the interesting way of seeing how much like the brunt force of Aries pops up
Yeah,
when it talks about like revolution and ideas. Because the whole thing, like
ideas.
Neptune is ideas and new ideas.
I
Neptune has
mean,
new ideas. This is the da 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 da. And like,
self-proclaimed savior of whatever,
oh gosh.
trying to, I think one of them, if it's, I think it was Emperor Faustin, who was like, or Jafar, one of the two, fighting to be respected and kind of like staying in the delusion of respect. And eventually they overthrew him because they were like,
Be for real.
right. But that signing of the Vatican for
That
me,
threw me. I said, now, wait a
I
minute.
was like, Jafar was definitely a mulatto, so you know, because like, why would the Vatican even talk to you?
And he has to be like a Roman Catholic too. Like,
Mm-hmm.
and it
And
just makes me like want to go like, okay, but so is that why how and I think the most beautiful part about all of this is how Black folks have been able to still keep the Africanness in all
mm-hmm,
of the religions, even
mm-hmm,
with
mm-hmm.
the I call it
Which
interruptions and intercessions of Christianity coming into the space.
which would make sense why in Vodou, if you look at the like the pictures and the things that represent the lois, they are basically, you know, Catholic
Things.
saints. There you go.
Hmm.
You know, and I think it mirrors an espiritismo the same kind of thing as like you'll see the same picture and it's like, oh, this is Santa Barbara, but she represents XYZ. She represents XYZ, and it's like,
Mm.
let's meet in the middle with that plate of rice, friends.
That's so like what was going on in like in I think the world was just like going through so much, which
Mm-hmm.
is kind of what's going on now. I ain't gonna lie to you.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
like the
We're
arrows
getting a
like
preview. We're just getting a
everybody.
preview.
And I think, we talked about this that like the United States is not only going through its Pluto return, so it needs to figure out what it wants to be in this next iteration of an empire, of a
Right.
country. But it's also going through all these crazy things that has happened in its histories, and it's going through it all at once. So
Yeah.
the reason why I brought up the amendments is because these are the amendments that are trying to be challenged right now. Birthright citizenship. People have talked about 13th. The rolling back of voting rights started, in 2015. 2015.
Mm-hmm.
The rolling
And
back of
don't
voting
go too
rights.
far. Even the Department of Education, right,
Correct.
is
Correct.
under that same kind of like, we're gonna get rid of this. And it's like,
Mind you, the Department of Education is another reason why the US is a huge powerhouse because it standardized higher education. The
mm,
states are pretty much in charge of K through 12, which is why it's so much variation. But Department of Education gave more money to Black folks, women, all of that. And the reason why I think it's another reason why the NIH is such a powerhouse because more people could get education who had these novel ideas, came in, had the money. NIH had the money, and it's a reason why other people, some of the allegedly best talents of other people, like I really don't know, like they come over to it for these
best talent.
institutions.
Yeah.
And
What
then they have children and people become US citizens through birthright citizenship. Like,
right.
and it's so crazy. And that's why you have to kind of think about maybe what's going on now. Like, are you trying to demolish the beast that is going to still be around? Because Rome is still around. It's just Italy and Greece. China is still around. Egypt is still around. Um,
And they're
the
also coming together, right? Isn't there
I,
um
they don't know what they want to do at this point.
I don't know, but I think China sitting pretty is because of this. Like, they got astrologers. I don't care what nobody say. They
Baby,
got more than one
down.
thing going on over there.
It is illegal to do any other type of astrology like outside of Chinese astrology there. That's all
There's
they
a
like.
raison.
Listen, they know their history. They know it.
Yep.
They get it. They listen.
Because
That's what I
China came
said.
out pretty, they're still benefiting from this trade treaty.
Even with the tariffs, baby.
1868. 18, listen, them tariffs lasted 10 seconds.
Did you hear about I'm not on the I'm not on the clock app no more, but somebody was like tweeted like, "Oh my gosh, Canada is gearing up for war against us." I
I've
said,
heard this, and I was like,
why are they gearing up for war? Because we over here trying to get Beyonce tickets. Ain't nobody worry about you, baby.
I don't know.
Stop listening to
I
that
don't know.
man. Cause the average American person, if you come, first of all, if you come over them lines, we're gonna be like, where y'all going? Baby, ain't no food over here. Why are y'all over here?
The
Like,
eggs are $8, girl. Go back.
go back. And they're like, oh, we're not gonna just pick fine, we're not gonna buy any American products. Americans are not even buying American products. What are
We
you talking about, Pookie
we have
Doo?
we have not seen a made in USA in years. In years.
And if it's made in USA, it's very expensive.
Very
Like
expensive.
you like to, and
It's
it's
unsustainable to the average American dollar.
Listen, as a
'Cause
person who makes products in America, who used to make, baby, my stuff is expensive. Okay, I think it is crazy. They're like, oh well, we're gearing up for the average American citizen does not give two
we're
two
we're
about what
hostages
y'all are
in our
talking about.
state.
And they were like, no, the whole thing of like cutting off the electricity because Toronto, I think it's like Toronto, New York, or something like that. And one of them, they share the electrical grid over there. I was like, well, cut it off. I don't listen.
I'm just worried because a lot of the retaliation that always happens don't ever really happen to the people that need to be retaliated to.
Correct. The people
Because
who
to put
acting up.
New York in the dark in winter is just a scary ass thought.
It is. And that's really the northern United
Because
States. Because I was like, well, yeah, that's why like Canada, the US have always been allies. But
mm,
Boo Boo the Fool in office, they also try to put they put something in the Senate and talking about purchasing Greenland to make calling it red, white, and blue land or something.
stop,
Someone said we must be
stop,
in a dumbass timeline. I said we had y'all kept saying let's jump timelines. Y'all done jumped us to the dumbest timeline out there. So y'all
ever.
everybody who was doing that quantum jumping, because you it's almost like the fact that was like Kendrick, the Super Bowl being very black, and Beyonce and the very black Grammys let us know that we were supposed to have Kamala as president. And I was like, well, y'all, I wanted to be like, but y'all kept wanting to jump timelines or whatever y'all was saying that y'all were doing. I don't know. Um,
Stop fucking around with the quantum physics of it all, okay?
because somebody was like, and they also know, like, this is how you know, like, they messed up. They, finagled things also maybe spiritually and with in the physical for that man to win. And I was like, where were you 8 months ago? Like, where have y'all? But y'all were so in delusional land. Come, like, where was your antennas?
Where
Okay.
were you?
And it's so funny. We've been talking about delusions and Neptune and Pisces, and I don't know, friend. I just that's how I feel. Like I don't know what to tell
Yeah, I
you.
don't. We
Congratulations.
literally are having a preview from March 30th to October 22nd, 2025. So, like I said in the beginning, a lot of it seems bleak, civil wars, revolutions, etc., etc.
But so much good came out of the
But
ones in the
there's
1800s.
so much audacity to believe in independence,
Mm-hmm.
in autonomy, that I think is also an Aries part. That what can happen, Afrofuturist hat on, right?
Mm-hmm.
What could happen, what we could um kind of like lift through the fog is, what if autonomy isn't individualism, but a shared understanding that we have the ability to think independently.
I wonder with all this stuff happening all at once with Pluto, Neptune, Uranus, Saturn is going to be in the Aries soon as well. Um, Are we going to rectify some history in the United States? Are we going to really respect the indigenous cultures and their sovereignty? If
Mm,
please give them part of Texas back, because y'all not even using part of Texas. If you're not gonna give it to them, give it to Mexico, they cousins. I, I don't. Are we gonna let Puerto Rico finally be its own country? Are we gonna give Hawaii back?
very
Are we
close,
gonna give
yeah.
Alaska back? We are okay. Listen, the US, another thing about the whole like war in Canada trying to get more land, the US is huge.
It's
The
big as
United
hell.
States is
For no
huge. I don't
reason. For no reason.
We don't
Just
need no
big for no
more.
reason.
We're not even using the land that we have to its full capacity. Wrap it up, baby.
Because there's no ability to take care of the land if you have pillaged it. How do you even know how to use land to the full capacity if you have made illegal all of the ways that indigenous people have maintained the land.
Baby, and beautifully.
Bring back.
They had did it for thousands of years. One of the things that
Give
the
it back.
author of the US indigenous peoples
Hmm.
talked about a lot of the highways that we have now. Not only some of them, a lot of it dealt are the same pathways like that the indigenous folks did. And also it makes me kind of think about those are also where Black people decided to also settle, and then they built the highways to break that up.
Yeah, to separate.
Yeah, and it's so funny about when I think about Black folks and travel and transportation, underground railroad, and I'm not surprised that we also ended up settling near those pathways
Hmm.
a lot of times, but it also like the insidiousness of like a lot of those pathways were near the enslaved distribution sites as
Hmm.
well. So there's like this layering effect that happens. Like the land is very active right now. Like
It's
the
very
you
active. Hmm.
very active. The spirits are like very active again, and I don't know if that's because so many people are now doing a lot of more veneration, knowing the history, pouring
Hmm.
libations. I don't
Hmm.
know if
Hmm.
because more people are getting more environmentally active. I don't know what it is, but
Or
I
maybe
feel
it's
it
all of it,
at the
right?
same
It can be
time.
all of it. It can be unrest, but it can also be the veneration, the care, the fighting back, because there are parts of the indigenous folks that have bought some land back or that have taken some
Mm-hmm.
land back. And what I find interesting is that a lot of Black folks, Black American folks, and especially like Miami Bahamians, um, put these roads together, put these trains together, and
Mm-hmm.
none of that in a Neptunian lens will ever be in vain,
Mm-hmm.
regardless how far, like, we go to crossroads,
Literally, quite
you know?
literally.
So I think Neptune in Aries is also a reminder that ancestrally we are more supported than we think we are.
Absolutely. For sure. For sure, especially if we use and continue to use the last energy of Neptune in Pisces
Mm-hmm.
to really get in touch and sit with our ancestors and not be scared when things get hard. Because a lot of people started and then like things get hard and then they went
Right.
back to whatever, which is fine. Like do what you do, bro. But the grand scheme of things, I think this is a nod to like very much so what my spirits have told me. They're like, this is the last time for y'all to get it right. I don't know what they I don't I like I feel like I know what they meant by that, but they're really like, this is the last time for y'all to get it right. And I was like, don't you mean we? They're like, no, y'all to get it right. You know how Black folks be like,
Yeah.
nah, y'all, you
Over
alive.
there.
You alive. I'm dead. I'm just helping. Like, and I think with everything that's going on, I really do believe that we can potentially for real get it right, y'all. So
Listen, they wasn't fucking around in 1868. And so maybe we need to look at the degrees that was happening in that time period.
man, like for real.
Because
They were on their shit. They even I mean y'all was on it.
1861 to 1875, the fervor and the passion and the love of protecting our matriarchal lands is
Mm-hmm.
Neptune and Aries,
Mm.
willing to do whatever it takes, because there's a lot of bloodshed happening. They ain't coming.
Yeah.
It's guns blazing over the ideology of, in like, literally independence, being an independentist or whatever that would translate to, um the autonomy of the land, willing to go to war for that. That is literally the protection of our matriarchal motherlands.
You know what? This goes back to And I swear we're gonna stop yapping after this, y'all. But I was just when you go back to the U.S. lens as well, I think this also is a nod to so many of the veterans being like, I fight for America. I don't fight for no president.
Mm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And it goes to kind of what we're talking about, kind of the spirit of the U.S.
Right,
and what that is versus, because everybody like for independence, for da da da, for da 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 da. Although, a lot of folks don't really connect it with like, you have to deal kind of with like the lack of independence of
right,
marginalized folks. But when we talk about Civil War, I keep telling people, it's like, it's not, or wars, World War III. I was like, I don't really think it's gonna be countries against countries. I think it's gonna be governments against its peoples. And that's what it feels like it's gearing up for. And maybe just for the US, that's what that is. Governments against
maybe.
people. But we've seen in
No,
Korea, because when
well,
I say Korea had the same, like they're like, who that fool?
because
Jump them.
yes, and I'll add in, I don't know what will happen with Haiti yet, but I know that in Puerto Rico, this last voting like it was the most votes for um an independent governor. And it was
Mm.
stolen. Like we know it was stolen. They're like the majority. Today I read it, they were talking about like 40% voted for that crazy bitch. And they're like, well, if you put the numbers together of how many people voted for this person, numbers, that's 16% of the island. Where did they get 40% from? And
Child.
so I think I
Folks love to
think it
steal
is
elections.
Neptune. That's a very Neptunian. Um, but also what I think backfires with Neptune, especially with it being in Pisces moving into Aries, is I think they underestimate the fanaticism almost
Mm,
of the love and the almost spiritual zeal that it is to love and feel like your country belongs to you and it is your
intent,
responsibility.
like I was just saying about the veterans. Like that's my
So
protection.
yeah, like
It's
it
crazy.
blows up, I think,
Hmm.
during Neptune and Aries. Like it builds in Neptune and Pisces, and I think it reaches its boiling point
Hmm.
in Neptune and Aries. And that's why we see all of these like wars, independence movements, rebellion movements.
I started cracking up in my head because I thought about the last days I was on the clock out. And when the US was off and people were talking mad cash and like we came back and we was like, yeah, call America, call America. Like, yeah, what you was saying. Yeah,
Say it
that's what the
louder.
kind of girl, I thought that was the funniest crap on earth. I thought that was the funniest. I was like, that's what they were talking about. We're annoying and loud. Knowing good and well, we listen, we don't give two. We don't care that dang on much. But when you start to talk mad cash, and you know what's
People
so
will
funny?
pull up.
And I think that's what like the Olympics represent, like Aries and Tommy and
Oh,
Body, and like
yes.
the patriotism and everything, like the embodiment of it, and then
Mm-hmm.
Aries being over like literally like physical activity.
Mm-hmm.
I think like the Olympics is a really good embodiment of that.
That's wonderful. I love that. That's
Yeah. All the countries
mm.
be like, rep my set. Like,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Absolutely.
Mm, yeah.
Hmm.
Okay, we done yapped for I don't know how long.
I
Let
don't
us
have no
know.
idea, but
Let us
what did
know.
we miss?
What did we miss? Did you enjoy this? Did you learn something?
Thoughts? Did you learn
I
something?
I
Can
know
you
I
add something?
I know a couple of y'all probably was like, let me pause this, write this down. Let me pause this, come back.
What
Um,
notes did you take? I want to know.
Listen,
What
because
what rectifications do you have? Right? Because
mhm.
Wikipedia.
Wikipedia, the crazy part is, as a person who has edited Wikipedia, it is very hard to edit. Like you gotta know what you're doing, and then people will come back and be like, "That's wrong," because you don't have the right
Right,
resources and take your stuff
right,
down. Like,
right, right.
I did see something that they was like, Musty, y'all know who I'm talking about, E Musty. Um, what he really wants is Wikipedia, and he can't have it. I was like, yeah, no, Wikipedia is literally by the people for the people. Stop being a loser. Um, but yeah,
Mm.
like let us know.
Share your
Are you
thoughts. Talk to
enjoying
us.
this? Thank you to those who have
Yeah.
subscribed on. I
Mhm.
haven't, last time I checked, I think we were like at 10 subscribers on
Ooh, come on,
YouTube.
10 subscribers.
Listen,
That's
the
a lot
slow,
of people in one room. Okay.
to be honest. So I don't know what it's looking like over there on Spotify on your end, but
I gotta check all the things. But
listen, thanks for joining us.
holler at us. What
Listen,
would you like to hear about? Is there a transit that is on your spirit or a year, right? Like if there's a specific time period that you're like, what was going on here?
yeah,
Let us know.
absolutely. I think we have something coming up eventually on Saturn and Aries.
True.
Um, because I want to do like something about Saturn and Aries and Black music.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Mm.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
So like, yeah, let us know what y'all want to talk. Like, this is for us by us, and
And you
yeah,
can say where too. Like if you want specific
no, for
culture,
real.
like holler at us. I want to know what you want to
I'm
know.
nosy. So listen, I will deep dive,
That's that's our that's what we do for fun.
literally. Very mercurial of us. But with
Thank you,
that,
y'all. I'm ready to sleep. So thank you, everybody. It is officially 10 o'clock my time.
all right, y'all, and this is where we'll
Happy
end
full
it.
moon. Yes, happy full
Yeah.
moon. It might be past the full moon, but you got like 3 days of the
Mhm.
energy. So
And good luck to all of us getting Beyonce tickets. Amen.
good luck. Comment if you got them. I want to know where you going. What date did you get in? Yes.
Okay. And with
Anyway,
that,
we
we're
sign off
done.
until the next one.
Deuces.